I've said for years that you have to celebrate your victories and really celebrate your mistakes. And what I mean by that is that you have to learn from the mistakes that you make, and you've got to create an environment where people are not afraid to take a risk and not afraid to do things that are beyond what the expectations are. At the same time, you've got to set up a framework for how those things are managed and judged and evaluated.
Mistakes are good things. Mistakes are good things, meaning if they're made in learning. In other words, mistakes are how we learn, because mistakes produce pain. And if you produce that and you convert that to learning, like for example, punishing people for mistakes is bad because they hide things. Where if you were to say to your kid who makes a mistake, the only thing you have to do is tell me what would you have done different in the future, and then we'll be good. That makes that a learning process. Or weaknesses. Everybody has has a number of weaknesses. The great people that I've seen in almost any area always have weaknesses. They just have known what their weaknesses are and have ways of getting around those weaknesses.
You should seek failures. See, if you're playing it safe, you're not going to win. If you're playing it safe, like that old saying, you know, you were taught when you're a little girl, better to be safe than sorry. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's not better to be safe than sorry. It's by trying things that you figure out how far you can go. You got to get outside the box. Like it's reported, Edison tried 3,000 ways before he built the incandescent light. He said he didn't fail 3,000 times. He said there was 3,000 different steps to building a light bulb. Well, there's different steps to get to where you're going. And I really do treat winning and losing exactly the same. I do not let it upset me.
One of the most important sort of phrases in my life is protecting the downside, and it should be one of the most important phrases in any business person's life. So okay, we made a big bold move from going from music company into airline business, but I set myself a condition that I could hand that plane back at the end of the first 12 months. If people didn't like our business. And so one of the most important negotiations with Boeing was, we have the right to give you that plane back after 12 months. And that meant that I knew that, I could put my toe in the water, I could see whether people liked the airline, but if it didn't work out, it wasn't going to bring everything else crashing down. I'd be able to look my record company bosses in the eye and we'll still be friends because they'd still have jobs. So protecting the downside.
Patience is for the impatient. That in fact, when you're getting started and your in-laws are making faces at you and you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay the rent and you don't know why you're living in Brooklyn to begin with and you're going to have to move back to Florida, it's easy to say, you know what? I need to go faster to pick up these scraps and pick up these scraps. And sometimes what that does is it gives you the foot up to get to the next level, but sometimes what that does is it just makes you a scrap collector. And that one of the things that we see when we look at the work of people who have put really big ideas into the world, who have built online platforms, right, is that they got there by being patiently impatient or impatiently patient, whichever way you want to juxtapose it. That if you look around at the blogs you read or the people you respect online or the organizations you want to work with, the myth of the overnight success is just that, a myth. That, you know, the much vaunted Twitter was a failure, a complete failure for 2 years. Nobody used it. And if they took the mindset of, well, if it doesn't work in 2 weeks, we got to go do something else, you never would have heard of it.
That it's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. A lot of things are going to happen that will catch you off guard. And so therefore you've got to deal with and handle it as it comes. And not only that, but that faith and patience drives you into action. You've got to keep moving and keep plugging away. In the Far East, they have something that's called the Chinese bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow. And when they go through a process of growing it, they have to water and fertilize the ground where it is every day. And it doesn't break through the ground until the 5th year. Okay? But once it breaks through the ground, within 5 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. Now the question is, does it grow 90 feet tall in 5 weeks or 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grows 90 feet tall in 5 years. Because at any time, had that person stopped watering and nurturing and fertilizing that dream, that bamboo tree would have died in the ground. How long have you been working on your dream? It's good. And you have nothing to show. This is all you got to show. People are going to do that to you. And some people, ladies and gentlemen, they stop because they don't see instant results. It doesn't happen quickly.
Now here's an important point. Nothing works the first time. When you try something new, it probably won't work. When you try something new several times, it probably won't work. And the turning point in my life came when I would hear good ideas and I was so eager to be successful in selling. I would run out and try the ideas and they wouldn't work. I'd try a way of getting an appointment or answering an objection or closing a sale, it wouldn't work. And my natural response, and I think just to be disappointed. And then I realized nothing works, at least the first few times. So I decided I would try a new idea 5 or 10 times before I passed judgment on it. I would not just try it once and quit like most people do, and that changed my whole life. It was a turning point in my life because I realized from then on, if you've got a good idea and you've got a good goal and you want to double your income and improve the quality of your life and you have to try new things in order to get new results, it's not going to work the first time. So say, well, that didn't work, try something else and try something else and try something else. Now, if you try, only 2 things can happen. What are they? Succeed or fail. If you succeed, you do more of it. If you fail, you learn from it, get smarter, and try it again. So you cannot lose by taking action. You can only lose by not taking action.
When we have had failures, those have ultimately resulted in some of the greatest successes we've ever had. You talk about those, particularly when someone comes to see you and they say, yeah, feeling really bad because this didn't work out. Okay, well, let me tell you about some other things that didn't work out that we learned a lot from, and let's pick ourselves back up and let's figure out what we learned from this and how we go apply that next time. You know, when you're in the zone of doing things that no one's ever done before, if you're only succeeding, you're not taking enough risk.
Failure is a part of the learning process, right? What's the risk of failure? What, you'll be embarrassed or risk of failure? How do you distinguish failure from learning? In your whole life, failure implies that it stopped, that the game stops, right? If it's part of you're failing and then you learn, then that learning is part of the moving forward, right? So that is what the process is like. Fail, learn, move forward, and constantly do that because you're cutting edge. You're going where people haven't been before in inventiveness.
You know, I have a terrible fear that I lay awake at night with, and that's the fear of failure and the embarrassment that comes with it. And so people like to have a lot of pride and say, I'm not embarrassed, I think anybody that's an entrepreneur deep down, really deep down in their soul, has fear of failure. What will people say? What will people think? And it's hard. It's a hard challenge. And so I try to ignore it as much as I can, but I find it kind of haunting me. And so I push through because I really believe that I have an obligation to keep trying and trying and trying. And I've had plenty of failure in my life.
If you get to a place where it's easy as an entrepreneur, it's about to get really, really hard. And so what you find is with really good entrepreneurs, they're constantly making things difficult for themselves. And it's pushing, I like to say, you push until it hurts. Or you want to be always pushing beyond what you're comfortable with. And you're sweating just a little bit all the time. And when that happens, when you're constantly pushing beyond what you think, what you know is possible, you're always sweating a little bit and you're always a little bit nervous. But that is the drug of being an entrepreneur. And so when you're pushing like that and you're never really relaxed, then it always feels small. And so in many ways, it feels to me the same now as it did at the beginning. I'm still a little nervous.
When you have a dream, and the dream isn't something you dream and then it happens, the dream is something you never knew was going to come into your life. Dreams always come from behind you, not right between your eyes. It sneaks up on you. But when you have a dream, it doesn't often come at you screaming in your face, this is who you are, this is what you must be for the rest of your life. Sometimes a dream almost whispers. And I've always said to my kids, the hardest thing to listen to, your instincts, your human personal intuition, always whispers, it never shouts. Very hard to hear. So you have to, every day of your lives, be ready to hear what whispers in your ear. It very rarely shouts. And if you can listen to the whisper, and if it tickles your heart, and it's something you think you want to do for the rest of your life, then that is going to be what you do for the rest of your life, and we will benefit from everything you do.
I think there's massive confusion around entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship sucks. I mean, it's lonely, it's high risk. I mean, I can't live without it, but it's like a bad boyfriend, right? Or girlfriend, right? There's a ton of bad days being an entrepreneur. Not to mention 98% of entrepreneurial ventures are gonna fail. So there's gonna be a really bad day in your future. Hopefully not for you, or any of you. For me, I think this is a very personal question. I think it's how you're wired. I'm so all-in entrepreneur, I prefer the pain. I think one of the reasons I love the Jets so much is because they bring me so much pain. I love the climb. To me, the setback is exciting. I love when something goes wrong. It's where I shine the most. But that's not for everybody. right? I mean, it can be very difficult. And when you start affecting your life and your loved ones and all the other things, it can get real nasty. To me, the way I handle things, even in the few rare days when I really struggle, I take a real step back and make pretend that somebody called me and told me that my mother or daughter were killed. And I know that's very dark, and I apologize, but it's really what I do. I literally am able to, at my deepest, most struggling moment within business, take a step back and remind myself that I could make $1 trillion tomorrow on Bitcoin, and if something bad happened to the people I love the most, that it would mean nothing. And it very consistently rewires me very quickly.
There is no prize out there. The only prize is this one, and what you feel and what you want to accomplish. And if you can, as you start out, these what could be lean years or could be fat years, I feel that I very often watch a lot of young people sort of meander around without any idea about why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, to want and to be ambitious and to want to be successful is not enough. That's just desire. To know what you want, to understand why you're doing it, to dedicate every breath in your body to achieve. If you feel you have something to give, if you feel that your particular talent is worth developing, is worth caring for, then there's nothing you can't achieve.
It is a very, very difficult struggle. Most people, you don't see the struggle part of a person's life, you only see the success they have. But I haven't met anybody here at the Academy or anywhere else that hasn't been able to describe years and years and years of very, very difficult struggle through the whole process of achieving anything whatsoever. So, and there's no way to sort of get around that. And the secret is just not to give up hope. And it's very hard not to, because if you're really doing something worthwhile, I think you will be pushed to the brink of hopelessness before you come through the other side, and you just have to hang in through that.
You have to make sure that beyond the intention that you put out there, you put action to support the intention. Don't say, I want to be a millionaire, but don't take the activities to do it. Or I want to be the best at something, but don't practice it. It's important to understand that you are enough pieces, put in the vision, have the vision of what you want to become, but you have to put consistent action behind that vision in order for that to manifest. And it has to be consistent. I had the good fortune, I was invited here by one of my fraternity brothers, Louis Tobias, and I remember many a day, Louis and I, Friday night, we're going to go to the party, and we went to the party, and we finished at the party at 2:30, and 3 o'clock, we were back studying so that we could do well on an exam on Monday. It is the importance of knowing that it's your own intention and your power and your actions that can actually lead to the outcome that you want to have manifest.